So this is the Evrae fight. It's a little bit different than some of the other bosses. It's really agitatingly RNG dependent, especially in the second phase of the fight. So how you're going to start this fight off is you're going to jump in, you're going to slow, you're going to throw a smoke bomb in order to blind, you're going to switch auron in and power break, and that's the startup of this fight. Now, Evrae has a markers on her, and the way it works is if you ever get a marker on her that's 6 or higher, her first 2 attacks, that are these little claw swipes you'll see in a couple seconds, turn into a move called Stone Gaze, which you might be familiar with on Basilisk, which will petrify you. So the goal is you need to either switch auron and Rikku out if they are buffed, and I mean they have haste like Rikku has haste now, or you need to not proc it at all by never going above 6. Now, inevitably you're going to get above 6, so you have to be very aware of when that's happening. So if you saw here, we used a power break with auron, we used a regular attack with Kimahri, and then after that we're going to use a Lancet with Kimahri as well, because that won't proc it, and we can keep ourselves safe for the first 2 auto attacks. But what ends up happening instead is you'll see is I kind of make a mistake and switch Rikku in for Titus, because I don't want to get Stone Gazed, and I miscounted my marker, and we end up getting Stone Gazed anyway. And we get lucky and auron doesn't get hit. If auron would have got hit, that would have been a real setback. So fortunately, Kimahri gets hit with this, and we just throw a soft and deal with it. Now, the marker here actually carries over from phases, so what you kind of want to do is get Evrae to 5 markers or less right before the second phase of the attack, which is Inhale, because it's auto attack, inhale, poison breath, and it always repeats that cycle in this phase. So what you want to do is get your amount to 5 or less, wait for the second attack to go off, and then you can just beat up on her as much as you want. Now, you have to keep that in mind when you're coming back. She's also going to have that marker on her, so you have to make sure you switch someone out before she gets her first attack to repeat the cycle, because they will always be Stone Gaze. So knowing that, she just used Inhale, and we can just kind of bombard her with all the stuff that we want to use. Grenades and any of Rikku's items, they all have markers of 0, so you can spam them to your heart's content. It doesn't do anything. You also need to make sure, looking at your ATB bar, kind of like I just did right now, that Rikku always pulls away right as soon as Sid's command comes up on that ATB list. If Sid doesn't get a turn before Evrae, if Rikku doesn't get a turn before Sid and command him to take you away from Evrae, and Evrae gets to attack before Sid gets a command again, you'll take Poison Breath and immediately die. So you don't want that to happen. Now at this point, what we just done there is we threw a lunar curtain onto Rikku, and we threw a lunar curtain onto auron after we hasted both of them. The lunar curtains are magic resist, and that'll help a lot with Evrae's Poison Breath, as well as the photon rays that are going to come up here pretty soon. So now we're just kind of poking away. This part of the fight you're going to stick back for. You're never going to see the photon beam attacks again after this phase, because we're just going to move in and out to avoid Poison Breath instead. But this is a lot of good extra credit damage, so you want to utilize the missiles here. So you kind of just have to tank this part. Rikku usually won't die. Most people usually won't die. I think Wakka has died on me here 1 time, because he hates Albed, and Evrae is Albed or something, I don't know. So you gotta just throw Albed potions on yourself as soon as the photon spray happens, and that way you can tank it again. You're also going to keep, as you've seen, using Lancet with Kimahri and throwing Wakka's Blitzball. Wakka has incredible arm strength and dexterity to be able to throw a ball on a moving ship and have it bounce all the way back at him like that. I don't understand how he's so garbage at Blitzball, but he can do this. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, look at this shit. Look at how far that man threw that ball. So this is our last guided missile. So after this, we're going to move in. Now keep in mind again, we're going to be looking at our ATB gauge and seeing when Evrae's attack is before we switch Rikku out. We want to get as much damage in as we can before we switch Rikku out. We have to be careful because Stone Gaze is coming up since it's overflowing onto the next part of the fight. Like that marker is like way over 6. Alright, so now we're going to get close again. At this point, we're just going to keep throwing more grenades. Now that we've gotten the missiles done, we're kind of looking at Evrae's health and trying to get it to a certain amount. And also got to keep in mind those markers. So again, we don't want Rikku to die here, so we're going to switch Titus in. Now Evrae's blinded wore off, but we're not going to reproc it because it takes a long, long time for the blindness to wear off again. We don't want to do that to ourselves. Instead, we're just going to kind of deal with it. Ideally, we're going to try and get him to get her to have the proc again so that she'll use Stone Gaze, because that's a lot easier to deal with than having to Phoenix Dance. I mean, it's both an item, but I'd rather have someone get stoned than have her die. I mean, wouldn't you? Because she's really that bad, you know. Not that I do it, but this one time. So we're transitioning now into the next stage of the fight, or well, the next part. So we've got another inhale that just came up. So at this point, we're just gonna back off again. As you can see, Sid is the last person to move before the boss gets to, so we want to make sure that we tell Rikku to move right before that. So you can see Evrae's health is getting pretty low. We're almost to that 10,000 marker. When Evrae's health hits 10,667, we're going to switch to the second phase of the fight, which is the part where it's really hard, because it's all RNG, and you have to just pray. So we can still tack on a little bit of extra credit here by using Wakka's incredible arm strength to throw the ball, and by using Kamari's Lancet. So we switch out again there because we don't want to get stone gazed. And luckily it misses Titus. So if we count the procs on this, you can see there's 2 there, 2 there, 2 there, which means it's going to use stone gaze, guaranteed. If you can count to 6, you can beat the boss. Hope you all went to kindergarten. Now, since we have 2 of those stone gazes down, we know that the next attack is going to be Inhale, so we can safely switch an auron here. Now, at this point, we're in a little bit of trouble because Rikku's not in the field, and we need her to be able to get us out of here, because Sid's the only person that gets to act before the boss. You see there, Auron gets to go twice, but Rikku needs to act now. So we're forced to switch her in just so we can move away. Now this is actually very good, because now we can transition to the next phase of the fight really, really easily. The way you transition is the last move that Evrae has used is Poison Breath. You need to pull back in, and then you need to overflow that damage to make it go below 10,667. So now we're moving back in, and this is where the second stage of the fight starts. This is where you'll lose most of the time, if you lose at all, because of really, really shitty RNG. You are going to blind her immediately with a smoke bomb, and this is going to transition her to phase 2, where she's going to throw haste on herself. And then things are going to go rough. You got to just attack. You want this thing dead as quickly as possible. You don't want to deal with shitty RNG, so just grenade, throw smoke bombs, do whatever you can. At this point, you want to throw smoke bombs because they do more damage, though. Now, you're banking on not getting hit by a 7% accuracy move. If it hits, you're kind of just completely fucked. So you just got to hope you don't get hit. And unfortunately, you just see here, Titus is so slow that he will not even get a turn before Evrae uses Poison Breath. Haste Evrae is extremely scary. Now, at this point, we have one option left. We have to switch Rikku out because she cannot die. We're going to switch in Waka. He's going to bitch about the Albed and throw a ball at this giant dragon, and then it's going to kill him. Now, Auron's going to live. And luckily, Auron didn't get poisoned. So we're going to switch Auron out into Rikku. Now, Auron is going to be out, and Riku's going to throw smoke bombs. You have to just hope here that you don't get hit. Now, Evrae's going to attack and miss. We're going to throw another smoke bomb. The same thing's going to happen again. Miss. We can throw one more smoke bomb at this point. Now, Evrae's going to switch to the second part by inhaling. And we need to deal with that poison breath immediately. So, we're going to be forced to switch into auron. And we're going to throw a high potion on ourselves to heal. You will always live the poison breath, but you will sometimes get poisoned. And then you have to switch things up a little bit. Now, at this point, we have no more blindness on Evrae, so we're forced to switch out or else we lose. We're going to throw a smoke bomb to make sure that we don't get hit. Now, at this point, we can throw one more smoke bomb, and then we're forced to switch because we have to take 2 turns to heal Auron to get him ready for the next attack. Now, after that attack happens, we're going to switch into Auron. We actually were able to throw another smoke on there because we got really lucky, and the ATB was reset because it's just such a good priority move. You're first going to cure the poison, because that's more important than anything else. Then you're going to throw a high potion on yourself, so you don't die from poison breath. We're poisoned again, but we're going to switch back into Rikku, and we're going to see how many hits we can get in and hope it does. Luckily we weren't hit there. And that's it. As long as you have good RNG, this fight is basically not too bad. But shitty RNG fucks your shit up.